and Reserve Bank of India, and it is supported by Niti Aayog, Startup India, and Invest India. The world is going through the largest digital transformation as an offset of COVID-19. There has been a major overhaul in the functionality of top industry verticals, specifically the BFSI domain, which has been witnessing a rapid transition over the last few years. The FinTech market has continued to help expand access to financial services during the pandemic, especially the emerging market has seen strong growth in all types of digital financial services. We have witnessed the promise of FinTech amid the pandemic. Now the question is of future digital identity with FinTech, how to figure out the correlation between digital identity and FinTech. With that, let me invite our esteemed panelist for this session, Mr. Vikas Bansal, Director, Amazon Pay, and we have with us Dr. Saurabh Garg, Chief Executive Officer, Unique Identification Authority of India. Firstly, a very warm welcome to both of you. Thank you for joining us on this session, and let me hand it over to you, Mr. Bansal, to moderate the session forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And it is my honor to be here and talking to Dr. Saurabh Garg, CEO of UIDAI. Before I start this session, just wanted to set a bit of context that Aadhaar based digital identity platform, right, has driven transformational change in the country and in the society. If we look back, not more than like 10 to 12 years back, our country didn't have a clean way of delivery of public services. It was very hard to drive financial inclusion due to lack of identity of crores of Indians didn't have any identity. Even when some of the Indians had identity, it was very hard to avail products and services because one, you had to submit all the paperwork, you had to prove your identity again and again, even within the same organization, same bank or across banks, and it was just very hard. And then there came the Aadhaar initiative in 2009, and this platform has emerged as the largest platform in the world. And it has truly enabled transparent delivery of public services and benefit schemes, financial inclusion, and at scale, I would call it, which is seamless opening of bank accounts, mobile accounts, various access to airport services, multiple other things, right? And then the innovation continue to go on and on and on. And the Aadhaar-based system also has a very unique intersection with digital payments as well as financial services, as I mentioned, right? And given what's ahead of us, it's just going to be tremendous. And just a couple of data points: the digital market in India is expected to grow threefold, right? We all know it is going through an explosive growth. Even the unique mobile payment users, which are about 160 million today, they're expected to grow 5 times to almost 800 million by 2025, right? And our digital identity platform has a huge role to play, and it has already played a role. One other data point that I want to mention is today, approximately 126 crore Indians have a verified identity, right, on Aadhaar, and it's 99% almost of all adults are verified, right? 797 crore eKYCs have already been done, and this is data as of last March 20 using Aadhaar, right? Another 546 crore transactions are done using Aadhaar-enabled payment systems, which was that number was only 1 crore back in 2014. So we've seen that kind of hockey stick growth, and I'm even very excited to the way ahead or a road ahead. And before we get going, I just will give just very quick introduction about myself. I've been in the fintech space for more than 25 years. As a whole-time director at Amazon Pay, I'm responsible for the strategic direction of the business and scaling up of our payments and financial services verticals. And I'm honored to also introduce Dr. Garg, who's with us. He's as I mentioned, CEO of UIDAI. Before that, he was the principal secretary with the government of Odisha and also worked previously with Ministry of Finance. One of the key ones is that he's been associated on many expert committees and working groups on things like social stock exchanges, promotion of digital payments, virtual cryptocurrencies, and many more. He's an IS officer of Odisha cadre and also holds PhD in international economics, as well as MBA from IIM Ahmedabad and BTech from IIT Delhi. Solid credentials, and really lucky to have you here.
Thank you.
So why don't we start with your opening remarks, Dr. Garg, and then I have a few questions that I'll take it up after that.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, a pleasure to be here in this forum, and a forum which is focused on issues related to mobile, related to internet, and how specifically in this session on digital identity and the FinTech sector. And as you mentioned about the numbers, I won't go into the numbers again. And I think what Aadhaar has done, identity has always been an issue with human beings since the time the humans got literacy and were in this world. You had lots of books on this. You have Amartya Sen, who's written on identity and violence. And I think the need for identity has always been there. And before Aadhaar, we had multiple identities. But what was missing was that something which is nationally acceptable, and secondly, something which is universally verifiable. And I think Aadhaar has enabled both these in terms of providing an all-purpose identity. So you don't have to carry 10 identities, whether it's a driving license or passport. And more importantly, at the bottom of the pyramid, where they may not be having any one of these identities, or maybe the ration card was the only one, now they too have an identity which is common across all residents in India. And the second thing is in terms of the anytime and anywhere verification that's possible, whether it's online or even offline, that's feasible. And I think these two characteristics are what has empowered a lot of people at the bottom of the pyramid, and that is what has also helped in a initiative like what is popularly now called the JAM, the Jan Dhan Aadhaar Mobile, with there being Aadhaar cards with around 130 crore Indians. Total number of bank accounts being nearly 140 crore, out of the Jan Dhan maybe only 40 crore. Nearly 80 crore, but obviously there would still be some people would be having more than one. But the fact remains that these are the numbers that we are talking about, which talks about what is possible and in this sector, especially when we talk of financial inclusion.
Yeah, no, absolutely fascinating, and then the potential that it has in front of us. I think you mentioned about that having that nationally acceptable and universally verifiable identity, right? And with the numbers speak for itself. So could you tell us a little bit about the thinking that got us here? Right? And what were the key challenges that UIDAI faced trying to achieve this, and how did we tackle them? So yeah.
Yeah, sure. As I mentioned on the issue of how we got there, on the need, the importance, that I mentioned earlier. But I think where it came from is that the identity also provides a minimum basic dignity to a person. And I think that's very important to realize, that identity is also a basis for dignity, which was also mentioned in the Supreme Court judgment that was that went into this entire issue. But I think the real challenge lay in the implementation, and that I must say, the architecture that was designed, which was totally open source, and the fact that at every stage, it was not the state alone implementing, it was the state and the private sector. It was a unique public and private sector initiative, a combined partnership, which is what gave the flexibility to scale up rapidly. And I think that's what's happened, that within a short span of 10 years, we have crossed 99% of the identity being given to people above the age of 18, adults. 0 to 5 and 5 to 18, it's ongoing, it's a moving goalpost. We keep on giving the Aadhaar cards at birth at the ages of 5, at the ages of, and so on until the age of 18. But that's what counts, that at the age of 18 and post age of 18. And the different private sector actors that have worked with the state, I think that's the key to the scale up that Aadhaar has achieved over the past decade.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, I agree. And any system of that scale requires very close collaboration with private and the government sector, right? I'll move on. One of the other news is about now RBI's new norms, right, which allowed Aadhaar based eKYC for non-bank entities. I think that has been hailed by the industry. I think it's a really positive move overall for growing fintech in the country. In your opinion, could you talk a little bit about these norms hold, or how Aadhaar can continue to be leveraged for innovative solution, right, to really grow the fintech ecosystem in the country? What are those potential opportunities? Where is the innovation where we can partner with the government to make it happen?
I think the basis of the RBI notification is Section 11 of the PMLA Act, the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, which had been amended a couple of years back, which allowed, apart from the banking system, also the fintech companies to be able to leverage the KYC, the Know Your Customer facility that Aadhaar offers. And I think where it will help going forward, given the RBI's recent notification, is the ability of fintech companies to onboard customers with a full eKYC, which is acceptable to the regulator, which in this case is the RBI, and which is also acceptable to the Department of Revenue, which is the administrative ministry for the PMLA Act, which administers this act. So I think it gives a cost-effective and a reputable solution to the fintech companies to onboard new customers, and I think that's where the power lies. And the KYC of the Aadhaar provides a robust, a lifetime, and a reusable identity, which is the power of so to say, the Aadhaar system. Now, in terms of the use cases, as I mentioned, we are talking of numbers of 130 crore Indians, and where financial inclusion has reached to a substantial extent, obviously the usage can increase. Where some of these new uses could be, I'm just giving examples, and I'm sure the different companies have a much better sense on that. For example, let's look at a pension. You have the Atal Pension Yojana, which is, I would say, very similar to the Jan Dhan accounts that were set up. But if we talk of the number of Atal Pension Yojana holders, it is still in single digits. It has not crossed even the double digits. And we are talking of people of 130 crore Indians. Anyone above the age of 18 is eligible to have an Atal Pension Yojana account, which is obviously focused and which will give pensions, assured pensions of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, up to 5,000 to anyone over the age of 60. So I think that's a market that needs to be tapped, and we need to bring that on. Similarly, you look at the investment sector. We have how many numbers of investors are we? We are still in single digits of 2 crores, 3 crores, or maybe 5 crores, depending on how you define them. And that's where the expansion is possible, that you are giving them a means of savings which is beyond what is only real estate or gold that is possible. So I think the possibilities are immense. And Aadhaar, you would be aware, we've just reduced the cost of eKYC of Aadhaar. We have brought out the draft regulations which are on our website, and we have slashed the rates from rupees 20 per authentication per eKYC to only rupees 3. And the objective has been only this, to ensure that the different agencies, different entities should be able to use the power of the digital infrastructure which has been created by the state in the country, that needs to be used for the benefit of the people, to provide an ease of living, if I can say, for the people, and the ease of ensuring a living with dignity. And with that objective in mind, we've cut down the prices to 3. It's there on our website. Please have a look at it if you have not been able to look at it. But I think the possibilities are immense.
Yeah. By the way, I must commend Dr. Garg, to you and the whole team for this positive development on the cost of eKYC, because when you are inventing new models, having a very low cost structure is extremely important, because the revenue models will take a while to fructify, and to drive massify financial inclusion, it is really important that the costs are low, and then this step, like from 20 to 3 rupees 3, is just tremendous. So thank you for that, and on behalf of all the entire industry, I think steps like this will really take us forward. So yeah, and some of the use cases you mentioned are spot on. India, we typically only invested in gold and in real estate, but the opportunities are tremendous, and with investors of 3 crore and less, I think you can go really really far, and then digital identity has a critical role to play in it.
If I can just add on the cost issue, since that you mentioned that, I
Yeah,
must say that actually we have 3 levels at which the cost there is ability. One is which is free, which is free to any to a individual resident, whether they use a paper KYC or they download it into their mobile and use a mobile Aadhaar and use that as an identification. So that's totally free.
yeah,
And then you have a yes no kind of a confirmation, whether which is at only 50 paise per person, so
yeah.
you can get a yes no. It's when you need a full details of the demographics, etc., that's one, it's a 3. So you have 3 price points, which gives enough flexibility depending on the revenue model of each company, each sector, on what will work for them at what stage and at what level. So I just wanted to mention that, just to keep it in perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think great point. Thank you. Just moving on, talking about the OTP based eKYC, right? It's been a huge enabler. Again, it really simplifies onboarding and customer experience. And when you're really thinking of massive scale, and today, the way it is structured is that it is actually time bound, where the entity does the eKYC, and after 12 months, they have to do another full KYC, right? And I want to ask this question on how you think about, to say, if there is an opportunity to move from more time based to more, I would say, transaction or limit based risk framework. So, up to certain limit or transaction, that continues, but if the user continues to engage more deeper, then they have to go to full KYC. I think that will, in my opinion, could be a game changer as well. But I would love to hear your thoughts on behalf of the industry on how we should think about that.
Sure. I assume that what you're talking about, the OTP based KYC, you are referring to the light KYC, which is there for the Jan-Dhan accounts, which where you talk of the Aadhaar linkage with the account, not having the PAN linkage. I commonly called as the light KYC.
That's right.
So I think in that, I mean, this is an issue which is obviously within the remit of the regulator, that's RBI, and the Department of Revenue, which administers the PMLA Act. And I'm sure they have their reasons for having every yearly kind of an update when the PAN account is not linked with the bank accounts. But I may mention that the RBI has set out, has a different cascading time span. They have classified, I'm told, that accounts in 3 categories. And for that, you need to renew the KYC in either 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years, depending on the account, whether it's a critical account, it has implications on security implications. But they do have. So it's really it would be unfair for me to comment, because the RBI and the Department of Revenue are the relevant agencies which define these kind of time limits. But I understand they do have a different time period. But I'm sure in case there is something specific in this, I'm sure even within UIDAI, we can take it up internally. But it's an issue which I think everyone recognizes, that you can't have the same level of the KYC requirements for all kinds of people, and that's why you have the light KYC and then at different levels.
That's right. That's right. And I think, yeah, you're right. And then if there is that framework, that can actually help further. But yeah, you're right. I think we have to take this up as part of our policy. Moving on, when we create something at this massive scale, it also comes with risks, and the risks, could be around, the privacy, which has been talked about a lot in India and globally. Risk could be about the security, right, of whether the data that's out there of all these Indians is safe and secure, and there's been lot talked about that. So the question that I have is, what are the government or your organization efforts, the continued efforts to mitigate these risks? Number one. And number two, how can we, as industry, private and public, can collaborate to continue to mitigate those risks, so that we can truly harness the potential of this digital identity platform of the country?
Yeah, so I think, as you very correctly mentioned, both security and privacy are extremely critical. Security in terms of the cyber security, and how we maintain the different biometrics data and the demographic data of the all Indians that we have. And we have an extremely robust framework which is multi-layered. We keep getting feeds from different agencies on possible sectors that we need to be careful about. And information security we take extremely seriously, and we give it the highest importance. We have data centers, and we continually update their security. We keep track of global developments and what's happening globally. And that is something I can assure that it's on the top of mind at all times. And we take any information that we get in the media or elsewhere very, very seriously and investigate it to the end. Mm-hmm. So I must say that's top priority. In terms of privacy, the Supreme Court has set out a very clear framework which exists, and separately the government is working on the data protection bill. But in any case, the privacy standards that we hold ourselves to are among the best globally. I can just give some examples. At an individual level, also we have enabled a number of aspects which take care of both the security and the privacy. And for example, we have what is called the Aadhaar lock. If someone doesn't
Mr. Bansal, I think we lost Dr. Garg. He's right back.
I think we lost
Thank
you
you.
for a minute. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, and similarly, we have this issue of virtual Aadhaar, where if someone is slightly apprehensive of sharing their Aadhaar with anyone, they can create a virtual Aadhaar, share that, and then destroy that virtual Aadhaar. So their transaction will get completed. It will not have any impact, but the other party would not have their Aadhaar at all. So privacy and security is something that we take up extremely seriously. And all our partners who work with us, who are agencies that work with us, we have a kind of a partnership agreement with them, so that they also ensure that whatever data they have, which is in any case is minimal, because we don't share biometrics with anyone. It's the minimal demographics, which the name, gender, date of birth, which in any case may be available from various other sources. That is limited, but we expect our partners to maintain that same level of privacy and security that we do.
Yeah. And I completely agree. And I think the new framework after the Supreme Court ruling around AUA and KUA, I think will also help us set up those standards and maintain very, very high standards, as you said, to make sure, the data is paramount, the security of this is paramount, and we continue to collaborate on this together. Yeah. So very exciting. And, I'll move on to my next question. On digital identity, right, is increasing. The impetus is increasing now with Honorable Prime Minister's announcement about unique digital health ID. Are there, in your view, other services outside of FinTech, that can be democratized, right, using our digital identity? Any thoughts you want to share on that?
I think it's a time to, if I can use the word, to harness the digital dividend that Aadhaar provides to the country. And I already mentioned about banking. I mentioned about other financial sector, pensions, investors. You have health. Scholarships is another area where a lot of work is being done on. But I think this digital dividend, which a digital identity provides, and the ability for other APIs to be built around this stack, I think that's where the future lies, and that's where the impact of the digital infrastructure that the country has. I mean, a few years back, it would have been unimaginable to be able to think of a scheme like the PM Kisan, that you can directly deposit in the bank accounts of more than 10 crore people and work. It would have been unthinkable to think of an unorganized workers database, which the Ministry of Labor is working on, where you will have some 40 crore unorganized workers database, so that you can transfer benefits, for example, to migrant laborers that exist. And of course, the health ID has just been launched.
Yeah.
So I think the digital rails that exist now are what other departments, and the focus of the government will always remain on the bottom of the pyramid, on the vulnerable, on being able to ensure that they are the ones who are able to live a life of dignity. And that is what has enabled. And of course, you can build on for the rest of the country in any case.
Right. No. Absolutely. I mean, the opportunities are tremendous, and we are just scratching the surface, I feel. So, no, Dr. Garg, any closing remarks that you have for the industry and for all of us, and then we can then wrap up the session.
First of all, I think it's a great time for the industry to leverage what has been enabled by the amendments in the PMLA. The Pension Fund Regulatory Development Authority, or the others, IFSC and others who are working in this sector. I think all of them have at the back of the mind on how to ensure that the infrastructure that's available digitally should help in financial inclusion and in financially empowering the bottom of the pyramid. And I think that the challenge for the fintech sector would be to develop products which will utilize this, work within the framework that the regulators offer, and ensure that Indians have better options and better opportunities in this area.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Garg. I would say, ladies and gentlemen, we are just even getting started. We have one of the largest digital identity platforms in the world. We are the possibilities are endless. It requires close collaboration between the public and the private sector, and I'm so immense and grateful for progressive policies that the government and the industry has on enabling a fintech ecosystem. And as Dr. Garg mentioned, the APIs, the open APIs connected in a very safe and secure fashion is the way to go to enable more and more use cases. And I look forward to that collaboration and your support, Dr. Garg, as we embark and continue to embark on this journey. And again, thank you for overall, the good news on the costs of KYC, I think, and then multiple other things that are coming our way. So, and again, really honored to moderate that session, and thank you, audience, for being there and being wonderful support.
Thank you. A pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Garg, for spending this time here with us, and thank you, Mr. Bansal, for moderating this session, and thank you to all our delegates for being here with us. I'm sure that you have taken many nuggets of information right here that will help you in your path ahead in the fintech industry. Thank you so much once again, gentlemen. Thank you for your time. And delegates, stay tuned because there are more upcoming sessions coming forward for you. We'll be right back.